pleasure to see you all here. Welcome on behalf of MUNICHFABRICSTART. It's the second time that we are happy to bring a panel to KEYHOUSE focusing on the future of supply chain. And this time the future of textile supply chain we put under the second headline, Disruption and Transformation through Sustainability and Networking in the Textile Value Chain. We think that the KEYHOUSE, with all this disruptive technologies presented in here, is the perfect place to do so. And we are very happy to have a high-value group of experts on a variety or diverse fields. So it's not only about textile that we will talk about today, mostly, but it's not the original background of all of you guys. And this is what makes it even more interesting. So from left to right, starting with Professor Dr. Michael Braungart. Well, we say here Leuphana University Lüneburg on our chart, but I guess most of you will know Professor Dr. Braungart from being the mastermind behind the cradle-to-cradle system. Thank you for being here with us. Then we have David Shah. David, you've been on stage this morning. We just joked around, you're in natural habitat, which it is for sure not. Your natural habitat is to talk about trends and to talk about two companies, two corporates, what the future will bring for them.
But I also make clothes.
And you make clothes. But how could I forget? 1 million suits. More than 1 million suits, I learned this morning. Hans Jung, thank you for being here. You're principal of Unity AG. Unity AG is a foresight consulting, and you help bigger corporates to see in the future and to outline what their markets will bring, their direction, and how they can adapt to that with their systems. And then Dr. David Schmelzeisen, you're here replacing Jan Wilmking, who was supposed to be here but got the flu, so he can't be here, and you're his business partner and just flew in this morning. Super happy to have you here. Thank you for being here with us. I need to sit, sorry.
Yeah, we want to start with the first topic straight away. So we clustered the 19 minutes in different topics we want to look at. And the first one will be the local versus global, on stock versus on demand. And we would like to discuss with all of you how the rising expectation in terms of self-realization, that's, David, what you wrote in your last issue, and I found that, our footprint, I found that really interesting. Meaningfulness, multi-purpose, experience and responsible behavior change the whole thing, and the consumer is making a big point there. And my first question is, how are individualization and local productions, are they the answer to this new consumer approach?
I think we have to say, first of all, that there is a massive problem, because I'm a manufacturer. We are under one wedge: make faster, make cheaper, make more diversified, deliver quicker, less use, less wastage, lots of price pressures on us. On the other hand, I have a consumer who wants more meaningfulness, more experience, more individuality, faster market. So I'm right in the middle of a huge wedge. The key is delivering what people want when they want it. The question is trying to predict that equation, what they want when they want. So we're going to come on to AI later. I don't think local producing is necessarily the answer. It looks like the answer, because if I make in Portugal, or I said this morning, I think Turkey will be the new China for Europe. We won't go to China, we'll use Turkey, just as Mexico will become the new China for America. But I don't think necessarily the distance is the problem. It's about knowing what to do. And I think companies will continue to go for the cheapest cent. Where can I make it cheaper, cheaper, cheaper? That's not going to change.
You don't think that's going to change, even though they are pushed in another direction, and the consumer gets to know more and more about the processes and about how it's going on behind the scenes.
No, you're an idealist, because I want to say something very clear. How many people are like you in this world?
I hope more and more, but...
I wouldn't put that figure at more than 5%. Everybody thinks Emma Watson and all this is lovely, and because we all talk to each other, because we all read the same newspaper, we all think we are thinking the same, and the world is thinking the same. I made that mistake about Brexit. The Democratic Party made that mistake about Donald Trump. We are not, because 95% of this world loves Kim Kardashian, not Emma Watson. So our problem is, let's be realistic about this. Who are we talking to? How much does it involve? Where does it go? I think it's a very important point.
You have your microphone already in your hand. Do you want to add something to that?
Yeah,
already
definitely.
starting discussion, which I like. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree on most of it, and I would like to say that I think even most of the consumers that we know, they don't pay factories to produce their clothes. There's someone in between, and these people will chase the money, and that's, I don't know, what we have seen the last years, and I would say what we will also see within the next years. Then definitely there's something coming into the mind of customers. They want to know where it comes from, so traceability, transparency is becoming more and more important, and that's what we also see when we look into producers and also their clients, which are big brands, so topics like open costing, this is more and more important. But at the same time, when we look back into history, we see, I don't know, it was NAFTA that moved most of the production out of Europe and the US at the time to, for example, Bangladesh or places like Sri Lanka. There's no real, I don't know, if you would go from a geopolitical view, why produce in Sri Lanka, there's no reason in choosing this place as a production place for clothing. At the same time, what I would say, the awareness of the people who buy the clothes, they want faster change times, that's what you said at the beginning, and at the same time low prices, so we need to be more flexible, and that's where digital technology comes in. And that's where I see will also in the future a lot of changes come. So we need smaller MOQs, so which means minimum order quantities, so smaller minimum order quantities per piece. And there is where the producers actually are now looking for new digital solutions, new technical solutions, but also new design solutions. So how can I design a piece that is relevant for a short amount of time? Yeah.
Let me stop you here because we will discuss that topic later on and in depth for sure. Let me come back to the question locus versus global and on stock versus on demand. How is it possible to be more on demand and not to have this massive overproduction we have at the moment? What are the solutions for that? What do you see? Do you have an answer?
Yeah, definitely I'll have an answer. If you look at the digitalization, what you mentioned, David, it's changing the way we produce and consume things. A lot of industries we spoke about a supply chain, supplying goods to customers. This has turned completely into a demand chain. Mm-hmm. If you currently look at the big platforms, and I've browsed Amazon in Germany this morning, 500,000 items of clothing. If you go to the Amazon US website, you'll find 2 million items of clothing. And if you go to Alibaba's website today, you'll find 21 million items of clothing. So this is definitely changing the way we consume. And it's changing the way how retail is interacting with customers. But it's not the only change in this transformation. All the elements of the supply chain are going to see that kind of change. And a lot of industries already go through this transformation process and experience that connecting production, connecting supply chain to customer demand is changing the way they be successful.
Michael, I counted 23.5 million pieces of clothing in just 3 retailers that Hans just mentioned. Do we need them?
So first of all, the industry and the whole business first needs to celebrate what they achieved. Because we always talk about textiles being an environmental problem, definitely. More than half of all the environmental wastewater problems are related to textiles. But on the other side, nobody sees that in the textile industry, there are 8 times more people employed than in any other industry, like the car industry, for example. So first of all, let's celebrate this. Let's look how many people actually can make a living in this industry. Because the first thing is about self-esteem. When you're not proud about what you're doing, yeah, when you just feel anyhow being cheated anyways, then you look for the cheapest. Yeah, that, oh, yeah, how can it, when I cheated anyway, so how can I get it at the lowest price? Yeah. Normally people are generous and friendly when they feel accepted. Yeah, even the poorest of the poor are always sharing when they feel safe. Yeah. But when we have fear, when we feel insecure, then we become greedy. Yeah? And so it's not about normally what people talk about responsibility. This is an ethical category which disappears under stress. It's more about quality, beauty, innovation. And then let's talk about what is the right tool for that. Is it local or is it global? For it, and it definitely needs both, as you know. Yeah, we need a European textile industry as well, because we need to be able to use 40 years of blame and shame as an innovation opportunity. And we need to come up with completely different business models. Can you imagine a company like Nike, where we wear the shoes from? It takes 3 times more money to do marketing and communication than making a product. This is pretty perverse. This is why people look for the cheapest price. So
that's the whole point of fashion, being perverse and being tribal and being independent and being branded.
It's not necessary. It's really about how do you make business? You're slapping your customer and then you said, please come back. Yeah. So you can try it with your husband. Yeah. So just knock him down and say, oh my dear, come back. Yeah. So can you imagine they pay some sports people, yeah, 60, it's just Bavaria, Munich, Adidas pays 60 million euros every year just to stay in touch with their customer and to promote a product. Oh yes, I'm so sorry, your product became ugly, but look, these saints are wearing it as well. Yeah, how ridiculous! It's pseudo-religious marketing. So the communication and marketing is just stupid. We would have so much extra money if we would think about different ways to stay in touch with our customer. Think about, for example...
Michael, why do you buy clothes?
No, the first thing is, if right now, you only see your customer when the shoe gets ugly. Yeah? But when you just would make a different business model and say, I make a shoe with an expiration date. Yeah? So just best before 2023. Then you get your customer back because you only sell a feet transportation insurance instead of selling a shoe. Then you could use the best materials, not the cheapest stinking stuff, yeah, and trying to make more marketing and cheating your customer as well.
Hans,
so
you
think about it, and then you can make it local as well. You can customize it because you use the best material, yeah, not the cheapest. And if you see such a shoe has 110 grams of microplastic. Yeah, which goes, so it needs to be designed for the biosphere. Yeah, and in 2 years we will have the first valid studies about microplastic in our brain. Yeah, and this is why we need to look, what is the impression from our textiles, what is the impression from our shoes. So let's talk about, instead of talking about what is better, local or global, let's talk about what do we want, what makes sense, and then we look, what's the best way to do so. Let's first say what is the right thing, and then we make it right instead of optimizing wrong things. Yeah? And then you make it perfectly wrong. So coming back to your textile stuff, I'm only wearing second-hand stuff mostly because the existing one is so toxic. Yeah? So why should I be your test organism for toxic textiles? Yeah?
I'm sorry, Michael, I'm more cynical about human nature. If I ask this audience, if I ask my colleagues here, why do you buy something? It's not because I'm being worthy and I'm thinking about that. It's because I bloody like it. I love it. I want to have it. It's about like passion. The reason you buy is because something excites you. You know, it's not. I don't think, oh, I'm doing the world some good. And you're quite right. I'm not discussing about microplastics. You're absolutely right. The question is changing the consumer psyche and retail.
I don't think so.
I just,
Because sure.
You two, you will make the conversation on your own. You stop at this moment.
David, maybe the microplastic in a plane
Is already there.
already lead that direction. Hans, you wanted to answer. So.
Yeah, two comments on the arguments. The one hand side, you'll have good and bad opportunities in all functions of an organization. So there's good and bad marketing. I don't disagree on that, but there is an opportunity with digitalization not only to wait till a customer comes back, but to learn what a customer wants and help him during the phase of usage to stay connected with the company and help him and support him alongside this process. The second one is creating transparency by making using the digital power to make the entire value chain transparent and help companies to a process which is called clean disruption. So enabling the consumer to make decisions because he understands where the origin of a closing is basically.
Yeah,
Maybe this is the right.
I talked to my wife and said, look, I really like transparency in textiles. When she said, oh, you're a chauvinist, yeah, because I like transparent textiles, sure. So I will not say this again, okay?
No, but maybe this is the good.
David, can I ask a question?
No, we start.
Because when I asked the question to Michael about the 23.5 million clothes, I saw not only David but as well David just nodding. It's like, no, this is the wrong direction that you're leading here, because it's not about how many pieces and if we need that pieces. That was my question that you don't like, but it's more about how they are produced and why they are here. So this initially leads, I think, to what you were trying, the track that you went when you said, well, we have an overproduction here. We have a too high amount of clothes that is produced in too big lots, and we have intermediates, and they will take out the share. Maybe you can follow that for a second and tell us what's your opinion on how those intermediates and how these order quantities can go down in future through the digitization that Hans just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, what is great here, and we also see it on our panel, and we see it everywhere. All our clients, all the users of clothes are different, right? So there will be a need for a high amount of white T-shirts in the future, and there will be a need for, I don't know, very, very fashionable 100 pieces of super cool, I don't know, blazer or woven dress. So we will have these different kind of clothes that are already there today, also in the future. And there it comes again with the proximity or distance, if we bring it back to the main questions. So, okay, we probably don't need 23.5 million clothes, because we see we have an average overproduction of 20 to 30%. This is especially with big brands like H&M, who somehow lost their understanding of their customer. So they had like 4.3 billion in overstock 2 years ago, I think. So there we see a huge problem, and that's because the process, the supply chain is so slow. The other thing is, but still we need big runs, and we have perfectly fitting production capabilities in overseas, in India, in Sri Lanka, in Asia, in China, that can do that very, very well. But now the other question is, okay, what changes, and that's what David pointed out, is, okay, we have also a lot of, and it actually doesn't change, it was always like this, we have a lot of people who are kind of fashionable, they want new stuff, they want to show what they wear, and with this maybe show their character, whatever. So for these people actually, we need smaller production lots, and these we can't really produce them in an easy way in these very big factories. So when we ask them, please, can you produce us these products, they will say yes, but it will cost you a lot more, and we are very inefficient in this. And that's one hand because they are perfectly educated in producing large numbers of pieces, but they were not trained in doing it for small quantities. So now we need to build either new or re-educate people how to make small amount of clothing in a very professional way. And this will mean it will not be at the same cost point, and that's what everyone has to understand. If I order 100 of these, it will not cost 20 euro, if 1,000 of these cost 20 euro, but it doesn't need to cost 40 euro. Maybe we can do it for 25 or 30, but these production capabilities are not ready yet, and I totally agree. Turkey, and today even China already, is transforming their production towards
mostly to Africa,
small
Africa,
production.
Djibouti, Ethiopia.
But don't.
In terms of industries, I see other industries taking on this idea of being able to mass customize, and not only in a traditional way, but mass customize in a sustainable way, using the power of information technology to connect the different elements of a supply chain.
So
And other industries achieve that already. That's
network
working in other industries, and I'm sure that the industry here will embrace that kind of concept, and it's already delivering into other industries where these kind of rules are applied.
This is when we, I think, come to our next topic.
But I think Michael wanted to answer something in that.
So first of all, your assumption of overproduction is completely stupid. It doesn't make sense. It would be the same if I look at a cherry tree in spring and said, oh, what an overproduction. No, fashion is about overproduction. It's about celebrating abundance. It's about enjoying life. Yeah, so some of you have some overproduction of sperm, for example. So is it really, do you really want to minimize, reduce, avoid? This is the opposite of what we talk about, fashion and beauty. It's only the wrong stuff. So like a cherry tree, it doesn't make stupid toxic waste. Then you have overproduction. So if you would think about a different way to design things, that we use the best material from the beginning, which can be used multiply across different industries, in a true upcycling, not like what we see here outside, in a true upcycling, then it would be different. It would be just a modification. It would be just a new way. It would be a design for reincarnation, actually. And so there is no overproduction, only when it's toxic, and when it doesn't, you cannot use it for any other purpose, then it's overproduction.
I would
Sorry,
say,
I have to reply to that.
now it's my turn. No, stop.
Michael.
You stop. We go to the next part, and that's digitized design, because I want to come back to Michael and the whole circularity aspects later on, because I think logically it makes sense. We can discuss the overconsumption from we can discuss the overconsumption from two different ways. So one answer is what you just started to mention. The other answer is digitization of and transforming of the value chain, and that is what you wrote a book about. I haven't read it, to be honest, but yeah, let's talk a bit about virtual sampling, connecting different parts of the value chain, and what digitalization brings in what new business models we have through that.
Yeah, first of all, you can connect all players alongside the value chain, which enables them to understand the market demand.
What industry do you think is mostly developed in that? Because you have the overview of all the different industries and working for loads of them. If you see the textile industry, are we very far? Are we very slow? Are others far beyond?
The industries which are much more advanced because they have a higher speed of innovation are service industries. Mm-hmm. They don't need a year or half a year or a week to change an offering. They can do that in the click of a second. That's why they are faster in embracing these new opportunities which are derived by technology. But production industries as well is changing because they are changing the mix between what is a traditional mechanic product, what is part of a software code, and they can add additional functions to the industry in a much more sustainable way than it was in the past. And this kind of change and the kind of transparency in the process of producing clothes is what makes a difference, as it does in all the other industries. You can be cheaper, you can be local and global at the same time. And the three means of change which are required. We talked about the customer interface, learning what customer wants to be able to produce it. The second one is organizing the process along the entire ecosystem. It's not only a value chain anymore, different partners, different skills and different capabilities joined together to make clothes smart. And you need to change the skill set of the people, because if you have an intelligent garment, if you have an intelligent t-shirt, you're not only handing it over to the customer in the beginning and take it back for recycling, you'll follow the entire cycle and you're able to help the customer to learn how to use it better. Mm-hmm.
And David, what do you think, how far is the textile industry? David over there, sorry.
Yeah, I think in a certain way the textile industry is very much behind other industries. This is in the meaning of, I don't know, borrowing things like production machines, production facilities, and somehow organization. So digital infrastructure, things like this. In another way, it's way advanced, because if we look into how, for example, car manufacturers design cars today, I think we are all, or most of us, are very unhappy with it. And it takes them about 5 to 10 years to really innovate on a product. And we do this on a seasonal perspective. And there, understand our customer and bring new visionary designs on a regular basis. This is something where we are beyond other industries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had a discussion last week, and I found it very interesting that we spoke to Lectra and Gemini and other involved companies in all these 3D sampling and digitization. And yeah, the technology is there for many, many years, but the difficulty is to implement it through the whole chain and connect all these different little parts from field to the final product, to the end consumer. And I think this sounds easy, but having these global market and having these different players in the market, it is a challenge.
But don't you think you can only make it digital when you know what it is? Yeah? There are 20,000 chemicals being used in textiles, and even Greenpeace is doing a detox campaign. Yeah? So they make a list of stuff which shouldn't be in there. If I invite you for dinner and I tell you it's free of chicken, that doesn't really help you. So in my age, I would better do a Botox campaign instead of a detox campaign, because that would help me more. Yeah? So I cannot make it digital when I don't know what it is. So, and there are key areas of digital needs are missing. So I need to make it reversible. Yeah? So we need, instead of knitting stuff together, we need to use glues to connect different elements. Then we can make it reversible. Otherwise, it's not digital. And for digital, we need to define the use period. We need to know how long we are using it. It's not about durability, it's about defined use period. Then you can make it digital, because then you can make a materials pool of stuff, and then you can use the best materials, because you can pool these materials and make them accessible through the whole industry. But then it's digital. Otherwise, it's just another manufacturing technology, and that's not digital. Yeah, in German you would say it's digital, it's not digital. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I would like to add one more element to your list. Learning how customers use the product is the biggest benefit. And this is what industries who digitalize their product, by making it smart, by learning how customers apply it and help customers to use it appropriately.
I think we should talk about this later.
Big change
about retail
in the game.
Yeah, but it's still toxic stuff. Yeah, so you make it digital toxic, so it doesn't help me. You're optimizing for the wrong things, and when you make the wrong things perfect, then they're perfectly wrong. So you first need to say what is the right thing from the beginning. Yeah.
And I don't disagree on that point.
Yeah,
I said, but if you use the right thing and learn how customers use it, you can even improve it. That's my point.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we come back to money? Because
yes,
we'd all like to
always.
make a profit out of all this. Everybody talks about airy-fairy ideas. I want to make money, okay? We all want to make money, okay? And we know the future is about reduction, because we're in a sustainable society, a new generation who cares. We're talking about reduction. So how do we make money? By reducing the number of clothes we produce. Because we are going to reduce, because the key to make money, right, is to reduce your downloads, to reduce the sales, to reduce the rendement. If I don't mark down my clothes by 30, 40, 50%...
David, I make it more difficult for you. You're not only reducing the number, but please give your answer while reducing the input, as Michael just mentioned, of chemicals and of stuff in there at the same time.
I take this as a social given. Sustainability, like quality, is going to become a given. Within 2 years, legislation, government legislation, sustainability will be a given like quality.
But what did you miss in your childhood that you are so greedy about money? So aren't you more into community building? Is it more about that you really... Yeah.
You, Michael, said in the beginning we should celebrate the textile business for the number of jobs it gives.
Yeah, sure, but that's not about money. It's about society. It's about benefit. Money is about how many people can I lay off to make more money out of it. That's money.
Michael, give David back please the chance to answer. Yeah.
Let me have a chance. Let's talk about Industry 4.0. We all know Industry 4.0. We've heard those magic words for the last 3 years, Industry 4.0. And I've talked to people, I don't know how many people are doing Industry 4.0. But we know it's about 3 things. It's 1, artificial intelligence. That means big data, all right? B, it's about digitalization, pre-processes, CAD/CAM, sample making, etc., etc. And 3, it's about automation, so bots or three-dimensional printing, correct? Okay. Now, the key in all those areas is who is doing what. So bots can make T-shirts, they can make jeans. They can't make this yet. Yet. Right? So the question is, how is this going to pan out for the future? Can AI design clothes, David? Can artificial intelligence design this jacket? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
Oh.
No. No? Who thinks a computer can design my jacket, a robot can design my jacket? You're right, and I'll tell you why. Not actually, we're half right, okay? Watson, IBM, guy in Australia made evening dresses, and suddenly his business went down. He made evening dresses and couldn't understand why he wasn't selling so many evening dresses. So they brought along IBM Watson, and Watson increased his business 20%. How did Watson do that? Because he studied the data. He said, what, David, you've got it all wrong. You're making black organza evening dresses. But Japan, China, all your area in Australia is buying pastel jersey. He didn't see the data before he started designing. Let's look at Tommy Hilfiger's genetic design base, right? He's designing genetically. So the computer has made a genetic model of Tommy Hilfiger. And from that model, he can make clothes. But the trouble is, it lacks intuition. So you need the data to stop making the mistakes and reduce the stops. But you still need humanity to create the design, a merchandiser, have a bird's eye view. I think both things will work together.
David, can you earn money in that world while at the same time individualize? Can the mass order quantity go down to 1 if AI designs clothes for everybody? David, maybe that question goes to you.
No, I would say it wouldn't go down to 1, but to something like 100 or 500 pieces. I mean, yeah, sending it to one person is not that interesting. Also from a business perspective, maybe if I can take, I don't know, haute couture for 10,000 euro, then for a money perspective. But otherwise, I need maybe 100 to 500. But this would already make the place much better. If we take into concern also the more, I don't know, sustainable materials. That we can recycle, reuse, higher grades and know what we have in our digital world. I think, yeah, knowing what we have is key also to make money with it, because I need to know what is in this piece of clothing when I want to recycle, upcycle it. That's for sure. On the other hand, I think I still agree there will be some designers who somehow feed our AI machines and give them feedback, because it's still a self-learning system. So we need feedback loops in that. And yeah, I definitely agree. We need better, more sustainable products. We need where they are, when. Then we need smaller order quantities for a certain amount of pieces. And we need AI that helps designers to better understand what will sell next season, so that we don't produce too much overstock.
But David, I'm not talking about sustainability. Sustainability is bloody boring. You know, it's like when I ask you how is your relationship with your boyfriend or your wife, yeah, do you say sustainable? Yeah, that's just the minimum. Yeah, so let's talk about quality, about holistic beauty. And let's face it, there's now a young generation coming where money doesn't matter that anymore. For young people, acceptance specifically designers, acceptance in social networks is far more relevant than money. Yeah, so, and this is about variation, it's about diversity. And I'm happy about even 50 million different types of things, because people are diverse, but they need to use the right stuff from the beginning. Then it doesn't matter, because then it can go in all different. I'm happy about diversity and different tastes and different. And with fashion, you can differentiate yourself. I'm even happy with fast fashion if you can make stuff which is beneficial, not that less bad. And so it's not about minimizing your ecological footprint. It's about having a big footprint, but make it a wetland, making a beneficial footprint, looking at people as an opportunity for the planet, not as a burden. And then fashion and cosmetics is key, because the closer you can express yourself to your own body, yeah, the better you can interact with others. Yeah, so you don't need big space or big cars, because you have more self-esteem. So let's celebrate self-esteem and first look at the cultural aspects and not at the technical ones first. Yeah.
Okay, Hans, can I bring it back to you, because I'd love to hear your, let's say, aerial view on that, because earlier we heard about, you mentioned the car industry. Then if I hear car industry, I soon reckon, well, cars today are not individually made, but are put together from a toolkit, like saying, well, I want those lights with those wires, and I put that together, and now I have my car. And a couple of years ago, we spoke about, well, maybe that's the future of the textile industry in a way. Today, we hear that AI might be the right direction, and you say, well, we have a cultural diversity that needs to be in there as well. So the aerial point of view that you can take, what do you think could be a direction that the textile industry might go, learning from other industries?
I'll start with the auto industry again, and then try to transfer it to the textile industry. If you look at the car industry, and not in the back mirror, but into the future, the benefit is that we don't need a car, that we don't need to drive the car anymore, because that the car is adding additional functions. Instead of just bringing us from A to B, doing that in a more and more supportive way, but not in one big step, but in various steps to an autonomous car. So in the car, we will have much more support in the future. So it's not the digital car which is the benefit, but getting additional functions in the car which help us to use the car in a better way and in a more efficient way than before, avoiding traffic jams and avoiding that we might need to own the car. So if you look at that, we need to find the benefit for the customer in the textile industry, which is accepted by society and which helps us to protect our nature. Mm-hmm. This benefit is crucial to make a difference. It's not just the technology, it's not just the pure technical element, but what is the customer benefit we want to provide? And it might be expressing yourself in a better way, it might to live more in harmony with nature. But we need to find that additional benefit from a customer point of view. And I'll give you an example from the textile industry in an industrial context. If you would go to any given big factory here in the area, people who work, they don't own the clothing, because they share the clothing. It's delivered clothing as a service to the production side. People have 3 sets of different clothing. One they wear, one it's in their drawer, and one is washed automatically in the process. And because they can monitor the process, they know what kind of stains are in the clothing, they can treat the washing process much better than an individual person would do that. The more you learn and the more you use digital information to improve a process, the better the process quality is at the end of the day, and the better the benefit for the customer.
So what this means that you would start with a positive list of ingredients, that you know what you have. Yeah. Okay.
I think that is now a good point, or a good moment to come to the next discussion topic, that is from linear to circular, and we're already there. So once we had an interview for our book, you said it's not about consuming less, it's about producing more intelligent, and I think that is what you already mentioned before. I would like to... Yeah, okay.
But this is why we have a difference in that I'm not about efficiency. Yeah, that only makes more money, cheaper production, whatever. I'm more about effectiveness. Yeah. So I'd say what is the right thing, because with efficiency, we think about flowers here. When your boyfriend is really angry about you, 50 roses, completely inefficient but very effective. Yeah? So think about what matters in life. Falling in love with somebody, everything what is culture is not efficient. So when we now are transferring efficiency to fashion, yeah, it looks terrible. It just makes stuff where you have to buy more because you're always unhappy with it. So let's talk about effectiveness instead of efficiency.
Do you want to answer?
Isn't what we said? I mean, half is human intuition, culture, and half is data and AI and robotics. You know, I think the two make a fabulous, unbeatable future. I think it's great, exciting, in the right materials, of course.
from your point of view, what is true circularity?
Circularity is a stupid concept. It doesn't make sense. It's linear thinking in cycles, like London Eye. Yeah. So why should I do the same stuff over and over again? You're stuck with it. No, the textiles need to become a material bank, which you can use across industries even. You can use it to enforce buildings. You can use it to use it in machines. You can use it for all different technical purposes. You need to first say what is the best material and what is the most. So it's a sphere, it's a space, not a circle. And you need to differentiate between stuff which gets consumed, yeah, which gets abraded by being used, and stuff which can become services, actually. And then you look at different things. Like, I want to show you the best textile ever made in human history. And it's good from a triple top line, not from a triple bottom line. It's the first textile print in human history which is really perfectly biodegradable first. Yeah? So because even Greenpeace doesn't have shirts right now because the inks are so toxic. Yeah? Or we have Stella McCartney who said, oh, I have now vegan substances and they use PVC. It's vegan. Yeah? So stinking toxic but vegan. Yeah? So this is the first time that people can make a living with it in Bangladesh, and the wastewater which comes out of this mill can be used directly for irrigation. Yeah? And the people earn 3 times more than the minimum salary by far, and I never saw anybody, they can work with their flip-flops. Yeah? And so it's a textile which is designed for the biosphere. It's in pyjama, and people can buy it in a discounter here, and everybody can make a living with it. So why shouldn't I differentiate myself? And just these, we developed these inks for printing, yeah, that it's open innovation. You can use them, yeah, for without any extra costs, and everybody can have it because printing on textiles is key. But it's as well the fabrics, the knitting, the labels, everything, even the packaging is designed for the biosphere. But this is only one area. The stuff which can be used in the technosphere is even more interesting, because you can use this, as you mentioned it, as a service, yeah? And then, so it's a biosphere and the technosphere, but it's a space, not circular. People now mix toxic textiles and new textiles and call it circular economy. This is a nightmare. Yeah. You can see it before.
So biodegradable textiles on the one hand, the cherry tree, and technical products for technical services, or like a data bank that are getting recycled again and again with chemicals that and all the income products that allow these processes.
Yeah,
this is the answer.
It means that you don't see textiles and fabrics and apparel separately from the other industries. You see it as a material which can be used across industries, and then you can use far better materials, and then sure, your manufacturing technique gets much easier and better, and you can better adjust to the tastes of people, and there cannot be any overproduction because you always can use the material in a different way, and you can always use it across industries for that. So there's no overproduction. Okay, at this point you don't need it here. Like I say, it's about celebrating abundance, not minimizing damage. Yeah, it's a culture of generosity where you come to a more humble lifestyle, not because somebody else tells you, because you're happy that the others enjoying life as well. Yeah?
That's why I don't disagree. Do the right thing and make it better. That's the concept, which is applied in all the industries.
Mm-hmm.
But Hans, how much standardization would have been or must be needed to be done in order to get something like this really working? I think it sounds like an inspiring vision for all of us. But do you think that's a track that's for real right now, that we can follow that track?
Yeah, and you see a lot of examples in different industries. So it's not a dream, it's already become reality. By monitoring process, you can improve processes. By being able to analyze behavior, you can learn and you can improve things. So yes, this is already happening in a lot of industries. Let's look at the printing industries, which also is a very old and traditional industry. In the former days, you did print at one place and delivered it to many places, a newspaper. Today, you deliver information digitally, without using as much energy.
And you need digitalization for these processes as well, don't you? You will not
it's
achieve your aim.
Even more critical, because we still in Europe have some capacity in manufacturing technology, but we are losing this right now. And in a digital world, it will be much faster. I just came back from Bangladesh, and I can tell you, I saw European machines everywhere, but they were all Chinese copies. Yeah? So we are losing the skills here. This is why we need to come back to the beginning on talking about local. We need to have local production in Europe. Otherwise, we lose 40 years of environmental learning and how blame and shame and end of the planet and Titanic and Creta, whatever, as an expertise. Yeah? This is healthy materials, environment and health and beauty. This is the innovation engine of Europe. We missed the boat in all the other areas. Yeah? We are 15, 20 years behind when it comes to digital. I have a colleague from Korea, yeah? And every morning I look at her, and it's just so funny because she switches on her computer and she looks like a rabbit in front of a snake. Yeah? Because, yeah? And she cannot stop this. And this is what we call fast internet here. Because in Korea, she always thinks her computer is broken, yeah? Because it takes so long. Yeah? So, and I can give you all these examples around it. But what matters actually, yeah, when it comes to environment and health? So, yes, yeah,
there it is.
It comes to environment and health. And when we combine this with well-being, with culture and society, we can make stuff which is better than anywhere else in the world. But we need to build on it, on our expertise and our knowledge, and we don't need to try to copy people somewhere else. And if you don't do so, if you lose this manufacturing technique, which we still know here, we cannot even make it digital anymore because we are not up to date. And now, when you presenting a machine in Hong Kong, 3 months later, it's copied in Shanghai. So we need to come up really with true. So why do we sell these machines? Why do we sell robots when we only need the service of it? Then nobody can copy it. Yeah, so we need to come up with different business models from the very beginning.
So I would just like to say, to kick ourselves, but I would like to congratulate our textile industry. Because I've been in this business 40 years, and I started off at Courtaulds making viscose, and you could smell viscose 40 kilometers away. We dye better, we use less water making jeans. We are making everyday fantastic steps on cleaning up. And I do hate this European arrogance that we are the best creatives, we are the cleanest, we are better, because the Chinese were onto sustainability starting 2008. Before this show started, before Paris started, the Chinese were already discussing it. Companies were being closed down, the government was acting on it, and they are damn creative. Because I go to China 10 times a year, and I can tell you they are energized, they love fashion, they're not cynical about it, they are up for it. For them, it's new and exciting, and they win every prize there is in every college. It's always a Chinese student who wins it. So don't tell me we are so clever, we are so virtuous, because we are not.
I agree with you completely. It's not. It's not like that. You can look in internet. We work with the company Good Baby. They make more children's things on this planet than there are babies or children. Yeah, far more. All the maxi-cosi children's seats, they make strollers, etc. And you see their plan, how they change into cradle to cradle from 2010 to 2020. But if we are not there just for one day, they replace one stupid thing by another one, because it needs a free society and it needs a blame and shame debate over decades. This is where we have the knowledge from. So they have good intentions, and even in some areas they're much better than we are, because they have more thinking, of holistic thinking. Just by our culture, yeah, we think we are evil and only God can redeem us. This is why Munich wants to be climate neutral, yeah, in 2050. But did you ever see a climate neutral tree? Yeah. So we want to be more stupid than a tree. Yeah. A tree is always good for the climate. Think about, you come home and said, I'm child neutral today. How sick? It's only because of religion, because we can only God can redeem us, so we only can be less bad. We cannot be good. And the highest is 0. Yeah? And this is different in China. The consequences are severe of our, it's the same in Islamic countries like Christian ones. Yeah? the tradition means that we try to be less bad instead of being good. And this is what you can learn. To give you a little example, there's not one organic label in the whole food industry which allows that my own nutrients can go back. It's only organic without me. So I need to pick up every day 2 grams of phosphate. I need to release it to the environment. Otherwise I cannot have bones, I cannot have teeth, I cannot store energy in my body. Phosphate is far more rare than oil. And can you imagine that even the strictest organic labels in Europe don't allow that my own feces and my own excrements can be reused. It's only organic without me. I only learned it when I was working in China for 2 years. When you're invited for dinner in the countryside, people till today expect you that you stay after dinner till you go to the toilet and use the toilet because you're invited for dinner, not for stealing nutrients. So this is a different mindset. So we can learn endlessly from China, but first it needs a free society and it needs all this blame and shame stuff because this is where the expertise comes from. It's like with a good cooking recipe, you really need to see how it's done and you need the culture behind it. Otherwise, this is why I don't disagree with you at all. They are highly motivated, but if we give up our basic textile manufacturing industry here, we will lose 40 years for China as well. They try to do it, but they're optimizing wrong things. They replace cadmium by chromium and nickel by cobalt, and they make, it's free of chromium now. It doesn't help me. You need to have this environmental blame and shame society first before you get the expertise out of it.
We have 54 cradle-to-cradle products at the moment, is that correct?
No, we have 11,000
11,000
products already in the market. And we can even have
44 companies, is that the number?
For cheap and awful, we have compostable jeans now, where you really can have them at a reasonable price and people can make a living for that. But we can do this across industries. It's innovation and it makes people proud of what they are doing. It's only now the question, can we really be fast enough? Because everything what is in between that costs us a lot of money. When you reduce by 10%, it makes it only more expensive. People think it's environmental protection when they build sewage treatment systems. But then you pay for the sewage treatment system. It's environmental protection when you don't need a sewage treatment system. We think it's environmental protection when we minimize damage. But please reduce water. It says everywhere, we reduce the water consumption by 10%, we protect the environment. But we are not protecting, we are only minimizing destruction. If you beat your child only 5 times instead of 10 times, you're not protecting your child. So it's just less bad, and for less bad, we are too many.
Hans?
I want to come back to the point, helping the industry to get better. Because that's what we learned by introducing Industry 4.0, not only here in Germany, but also in China and in the US. And we spoke to colleagues from Stanford, and they said, well, we're good in digitalizing service, but we don't have any industry left, so we can't apply that. But here in Germany, in Europe, we'll have, and it's not arrogant, we'll have some industry which can be improved, which can be improved by applying digital principles. And it's the same in China. And one of the key questions is who is making better use of data? Who is have better access to data to use that to learn from the processes? And it's one of the key questions we need to answer in all places around the globe.
And this is before, Jana, I know that you want to go on, but this is where I wanted to bring it again really down to earth and pass it on to David, because it's about having data, and you work together with suppliers along the textile supply chain. Is the data really available?
I mean, there
or
is no...
Is it available in a standardized way that it really works? Is that microphone working? Equipment working?
Yeah. So I think, this is... First, the data is not available. It's most of the time not even an Excel sheet. It's on boards somewhere in the room. If it's for materials, most of the time it is available, but after production it gets usually lost. And then the second thing, what you already mentioned, is the standardization. So there is no standard. I mean, most of you are probably from the textile industry. So if you ask your producers, can you send me the data? Yeah, they will say what kind of format, what do you want. They will send you an Excel sheet that they built on their own. So the access to the data is the second problem. So what we learned with different partners is that it's very difficult. Big companies like Adidas or Nike, they handle it, like also BMW or Volkswagen do it in the automotive industry. They just dictate how the data should be processed so they can access it easily, but there's no common open standard for others to access it. But there are, I think, some initiatives on their way. So we see here, for example, Circularity ID, which is going into the direction of, okay, how can we standardize data so that we have access to information? But we definitely need to get there, because otherwise all these information are lost. Even if I have a great material at the beginning, after, I don't know, at least one circle of usage, I don't know, is it still there? Where is it? Can I reuse it? How many times has it been used? For what can I use it? Because, yeah, I can't always look at something that that has been used and redo evaluation for what it can be used. I need the information.
But David, we have to say that the whole thing is a fraud. The emperor is completely naked, actually, when it comes to transparent. Just the 5 biggest companies, retail companies selling organic cotton are selling more cotton than there is organic cotton produced in the world. Yeah? So there's something completely wrong from the very beginning. So talk about being transparent and about digital is just funny, because it's just not true at all. Yeah? It's like if I would talk about going to another galaxy, yeah, just with my airplane. Yeah? So it's not, and people think when they do a step in the right direction, they do something. It only keeps me away from using the right tools. Yeah? So I have to be in Hamburg tomorrow, and I say, now, oh, I'm walking. Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. We will say, what an idiot, you will be never there in time. Yeah? So let's really talk about the fundamental needs of a true, transparent supply chain first. And before we don't answer this for cotton, forget about anything else. Yeah? So what is your idea? How would you handle it to get it really transparent?
So I think for cotton, it's going to be a nightmare, but if you go for your new biopolymers, for example, there you have a central production, and you can definitely trace where your goods come from, and also trace where biopolymers, for example, go into. And that's also something where I agree, where we say today, for example, polyamide, which is nylon in the textile industry, or polyester is so bad because it's made out of oil. Sorry, at the moment, it's some of the materials that we can reuse the best, where we really know it's in the cloth. So if you have like 100% polyester shirt, you still don't know what kind of chemicals are onto that. So that's where we know to go with legals into it and forbid some kind of chemicals that come on top. But we need a basis of working biomaterials, or even at the moment petrol-based materials, because I think even going step by step is what we need to do at the beginning, to be afterwards able to recycle them and bring new products into life out of these materials.
And like in other industries where they already started standards, if you look at the smart home industry, for example, there are more than 200 companies defining standards like G5 as a communication standard. And I haven't seen partners from this industry being part of that standardization process. And some of the other industries are lagging behind, but also in the agricultural industry, you see trends, and you see trials to connect from field to fork. It's not there yet, but companies are building on that. Mm-hmm. It takes time, fair enough, but it's definitely a useful tool.
Listen, I think we're moving away from what this is all about. I think this meeting is to help them survive the future. And let's get back to data, because in my opinion, not everybody here can do Industry 4.0. You're talking billions of investment. You're talking the Zaras, you're talking the big boys. Small companies can't even look at 4.0 yet, some digitalization. But we can look at data. Every one of you could start to research your data. And I can tell you, data helps prediction. I don't know why Nike has just bought, I just read about it, Nike's bought Select AI. That is a prediction service. There's the editor, there's Farfetch, there's Stitch, there's Catalyst AI. Everybody doing data research. And I can tell you, data is 100% available in China, and there's more data about you flying around than you know, and everybody's mining. Every time you make an internet transaction, that is data for companies. They're learning about you. They find it very hard on bricks and mortar, but every time you buy something on the net, they know who you are, they know your credit card, you know what you bought, you know what you're prepared to pay, everything is analyzed. And with that data, and you can access that data, you can make better decisions about you as a retailer, as a manufacturer, or whatever it is. I would like to ask Michael, who are the companies who are coming to you about Industry 4.0, David, Michael? What kind of size are they? Are they big? Are you getting small? Who can play this game?
Yeah, it's a very good question and a very simple answer. From mid-sized companies, German Mittelstand, till large corporations, all of them can use it. And all of them can apply it. Just give you one example out of this industry. We helped the Jakob Adler this year to develop a Industry 4.0 sewing machine.
Yeah.
And that's not a big corporation. And they successfully launched the sewing machine last year. And it's building on that to help, at least at a part of the process, to create more data and use the data to improve the process.
So there's factory data and there's consumption data.
But I think we need to change the business model first. To give you an example, nobody needs a washing machine. You only need the service of using it. When you tell people when you sell just 3,000 times of washing, then you're not interested that the stuff falls apart. But it's not about durability, it's about defined use period. You're just selling 3,000 times washing, then the manufacturer can use the best material, not the cheapest one. Instead of 150 toxic, stupid, silly, stinking plastics, you can make the same washing machine just with 3 types of plastic. The same is, we don't have in the car industry, don't have business models because it takes 46 steel alloys to make a BMW, and what do they make after that? They make building steel out of it. Yeah? So we lose all the rare elements like copper, nickel, cobalt, manganese, molybdenum, titanium, antimony, gets all diluted in the building steel because there's no business model for that. So people buy windows and nobody needs a window. You only need looking through insurance for 30 years. Then you could use the best material. But amazingly, there is no business model. And it's starting now in textile industry, specifically that you are doing a service concept for jeans in the Netherlands, blue jeans, for example. Then you could use far better stuff. Yeah? And you can use it actually for use. So you don't need to pre-wash jeans anymore because you could use the recycled component to get this pre-wash effect from it. And you could use far better ingredients in the whole process if you would come to service models. So, but it means that you first look for the business concept behind it. The existing business concept, I'm completely with you, doesn't make sense. Yeah, I agree with you. It's silly to do. It's ignorant. It's just not only contaminating the environment and losing resources. It's disrespectful for the people who spent the work and we're doing the design for that as well. So can we talk about other digital business models which really allow that we can make high quality, high value products which definitely make enough money for you, yeah? And on the other side are allowing the community to exist and to make people proud. This is what I talk about total beauty or total quality. Let's make total quality and total beauty apparel and fashion products and fabrics. Then we can be really proud of what we are doing. And then we have more self-esteem. And then sure, we will need less for that because we are happy to share with others.
There are more than 100 digital business models which are approved in various industries. There's one thing which maybe company hinders. Mostly startups apply these new digital business models because they're trying new things. Traditional companies with one already optimized business model have the tendency to rather optimize the existing business model instead of trying new ones. And there is an appeal to all of you, not only try to optimize your existing business model, but also engage young people which have the knowledge and the skills, and enforce them to try and maybe also fail sometimes, but build these kind of new business models and apply it to your industry. That's how all the other industries also learned. It's not that you can do all the business models you test right in the first place. You need to apply a learning culture, innovation culture in your company.
And I think he's quite right. Don't employ any more designers, employ data crunchers, people who can analyze data. Silicon Valley boys, they are part of our business, not just creative. They are as creative as us. We need them in our companies. Absolutely.
But first of all, be proud of what we accomplished already. So I worked 22 years to get Azo dyes out of textiles. And when you buy anything like that, there's no Azo dyes anymore in textiles. These Azo dyes, they degrade in your stomach, and you pick them up, and they degrade in the environment, and they're strong carcinogens. And they are no longer used in textiles. Really, whatever and wherever they make them, whether it's in China or in India, whatever, it's not used anymore. But then people take the vegan formula of Aperol Spritz, which we now have today. Yeah, and what it is, it's two Azo dyes. You can look it up in the internet. It's E110 and E124. They're both proven carcinogens, and people now drink it. If you're somehow frustrated about how slow we are in textiles and apparel, yeah, okay, we can get rid of toxic chemicals by drinking them. So what the whole world in industry learned to take Azo dyes out of textiles, even Aperol Spritz didn't learn it. Yeah, so be proud of what you learned already. Yeah, because real progress takes time. Yeah.
But David, you wanted to mention something about the change in the business model. I think this is.
Yeah, I think maybe first comment about the changing business model on washing machines. I'm very happy to have my own washing machine now and not share it anymore.
No. It's not about. It's not sharing about your girlfriend. It's not like that. No, it's about you buy the service of using it. Sure, for your washing machine, you have a counter in it. Yeah, and I hope you don't like to share your girlfriend as well. So it's not about sharing your washing machine. So it is about having a counter which has 5,000 points in your washing machine, and you really pay per wash. Yeah, and it's not about somewhere else.
I was very sure that you meant it this way, but I wanted to make sure that everyone understands it.
Understanding, it's a service, and it's not about a washing machine which lasts for 30 years, because then the innovation never reaches the market. It means you have an innovation cycle for washing machines with about 9 years. Yeah, so 90 degrees Celsius is 3.62, 21 point, or 31 point. So you fill the washing machine and you wash at the lowest possible temperature for that. Yeah?
That's more into detail. I will add
but
another
people
thing.
understand it. If they do it halfway, then they just minimize, reduce, avoid the existing. It's a different mindset behind it.
It's totally fine, but I think now everyone understood that part. That I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands the difference in this kind of business model. The second thing is, I think that's also something that we see here in our discussion. There are so many different new topics coming into this field of textiles, and it kind of feels like we need an expert for every of these topics, and it's even in between experts or so-called experts difficult to understand each other. And I think, each of them should come together to these kind of groups, and we need some kind of platforms where we can discuss it. And on the other hand, we still need to focus on the things that we are really good at. And that's where I think that we still need designers. Yeah, there will maybe be AI technologists that can help you, but he doesn't even need to be in your company, and that's a nice thing about the new business model, because you can use this kind of guy who can just help you with your AI, and you can focus on your design. And I think what is really missing today in our world is somehow overview or learning space where you can really learn and understand what, for example, cradle to cradle means, or what, for example, industrialization, digitalization means, and where you can find these people and just, I don't know, it's not sharing, but it's somehow, using them for your business model. And that's pretty much, from my point of view, what is making it so difficult for this industry, that there is no place where you can actually get access to these people, where you know, okay, the information are right, okay, I know this is better for the material, or here I can really learn what will be better in the material. This is how cradle to cradle will work, or even this is how my supply chain gets better and how I can change this. So I would like to raise this kind of idea, where can I bring people together and raise these kind of discussions?
Yeah, but this is a fundamental discussion. Every relevant design school of the world is now teaching designers cradle to cradle, because it's not because of cradle to cradle per se, it's because it makes designers real designers, not just beautifiers. And I agree with you, that doesn't need these types of designers we don't need anymore. But if you are designing data and if you're designing supply chains, it's a design question as well. So let's celebrate designers first and really get to the different way, and it's a different understanding of design, not just make a little different ankle here and a little different shape there. And this makes designers really more important. And this is why it's going so fast. And I think we have consensus about it, isn't it?
No doubt. But I think we have to just be, designers can also be, sexiest men in the world today are scientists, not painters.
How does a designer start the change? When we come to that topic.
Wait a minute, before you do that, I would like to ask them a question. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can.
Listen, we didn't talk about individualization of product, and we didn't talk about speed to market, which of course for all of us here, very big, hot issues. The most terrifying thing I've seen in my life is the blueprint for Amazon's factory, where they only make to order, they don't make any stock, they make exactly what you tell them to make as an individual, and they deliver it all in one day. Now that is the dream of the business, right? One day delivery of exactly your individual product. But I have a question. Where does the fabric come in? I mean, if you're going to design, who is taking the risk in all this digitalization, automation? Somebody's got to hold the baby. You've got to start with something. So who is carrying the can? If I can get workers, I can get sewers, I can get people to do it, but who's carrying the can about the fabric stock? Because we need the raw material, whether it's sustainable or not.
Good question and a simple answer. All the functions in an organization, when BMW started mass customization, they were the least in the industry. It took customers who individualized the car, they needed to wait up to 3 months for a product. They completely changed the design process, they completely changed the production process, they completely changed the way how they sold cars by linking all dealers around the globe with digital solution to the production planning, turning a supply chain into a demand chain. And this is what, yes, you can celebrate what you achieved so far, but in the moment you lean back after celebration, and you should celebrate, another person stands up and comes to the next idea. This is the world we live in. So if we can use technology in the right way to create customer benefits without harming, then we use it wisely. And a lot of industries learned it already. I give you the two things to the discussion we already had. Yes, learn to apply design, but also learn to design service thinking.
But don't you think that...
Maybe I can explain on that, because service design thinking might not be a term which everybody knows. It's a school to learn how to apply new digital business models. And this is something which all the other industries used to apply to change and improve their existing business model. So a designer needs to understand the design of fabrics. But in addition, having people in a team helping him to design additional business models. So that's an add-on to the existing skill set. And all the industries applying that have gone through this process.
I think
David, actually, back to your question. Back to your question about the fabric. So from my point of view, it's just a big lie what Amazon is doing there.
but it's a beautiful lie.
Yeah, it's a beautiful lie, but a big one. I don't know. I've been working with Adidas on the topic. I've been working with some very big Chinese internet giant on this kind of topic. And what they do is they use only one fabric, and they have a very limited product range. So I don't know if Amazon is telling you, I have a factory where a product comes out. Sorry, there's a T-shirt coming out with a little different print and maybe some different patterns on it, but that's it. It's all one material base. It's all, in this case, cotton or polyamide knitwear material. So they have maybe a range of 2 fabrics. And the same for China. So it's all about jeans. It's going to be slightly different jeans, but it's all jeans. And
it's mono product.
David.
So it's not super individual. It's still a mass production.
David, both of you, David.
Just to give
You're now talking about Amazon or about AB or about Adidas or about whoever. But David, you mentioned it before, talking about all these topics in front of this audience and on this trade show. I don't think that Alibaba, Amazon, or maybe Adidas sits in this room and is facing those problems. Smaller companies, mid-sized companies, even bigger companies who are not as big as Amazon or Adidas or Alibaba facing the same problems because they are playing on the same field. And
they're not playing on the same field. You don't want to be on that field.
No, but they sell the same products. They sell the same products.
No.
But don't you think that the concept of individualization customers is the wrong concept per se? Because it puts so much stress on the individual to be special and unique, etc. I'm so strong in what I'm doing because, first of all, I celebrate 95% of being mediocre, not individual. Yeah? And if you don't do this, you will lose your girlfriend after 2 years latest. Because when the
I got a problem about money. I got a problem about wives.
Because when the anesthesia wears off, yeah, when you no longer think, pink and nice about, then you sit and you are in the bathroom and you think, how can I be in love with somebody who brushes her teeth so strangely, yeah? And because you think you're so special. So please, don't make more stress for people to be customized, to be more individual, instead of really accepting that it's just a marketing trick to make you to buy more different stuff. So first celebrate the collective instead of the individual, because we need collective human rights, not just individual human rights.
Michael, I'm completely in line with you, and there are moments in life and in economical life where I completely love mediocrity. But if you want to adapt to the change which is coming, and if you want to adapt to a change which is going in the way of individualization, into a way of being more transparent, in the way of knowing more about the data that should be out there on the field, David, what is advice how smaller to medium-sized companies can adapt to that change?
Don't try and compete. Just stay clear of it. Let the bullies fight themselves. As I said this morning, you're going to have Alibaba, Tencent on one side. You're going to have Facebook, Amazon, Apple on the other side. And they're going to fight the big global war. You stay out of this. You make personalized, small production. You specialize in what you're good at. You become a monobrand. You become good, and you keep it up. People still want the small. People still want the local. People still want the individual and what you've got to offer. There is a market for it. It doesn't have the volume and the profit of Amazon, but there is still a market for it. Be good at what you're doing, and above all, have the right leadership. Start to think out the box. Don't follow the rules. Have a leader who's going to challenge the shareholders. Have a leader who's going to unite the workforce, not to follow the system. Very German. This is the rules, this is the system. To think against the system, to be curious, to do things. Create with new leadership, create your own thing. There is a market for it. We all love it. Let Zara, Amazon run the world, but there's space for all of us.
And the second thing is, I think it's all about collaboration. So what we did at the time was, I got to know Jan Wilmking, who should sit here at Z Labels. So it was the own brands of Zalando. They are big, but not very big. And actually what we learned when we were facing these new topics is collaboration is key. We went to our production partners in Romania, in Turkey, and even in Asia, and we asked them, hey guys, we are willing to give you a piece of the cake of what we earn at the end of the day if you help us to learn how we can produce more efficiently. And they were like, yeah, I don't know, no one else is asking me this. I'm producing clothes for 30 years. I know how to do it, but these bloody designers, they always tell me I should use this kind of seam. And it's completely stupid, it doesn't make any sense. So what they told us, please come to us, talk to us, and we are very happy to share these information because we get rid of a lot of pain in the production. That's the first thing. Then the second one is definitely for digitizing. They are not the key partners. And that's again, then you need to look out. Maybe Unity is the right partner, or you find other partners in the field that already know from other expertise, hey, this is how it could work in the future. This is where you can get help in, for example, AI for design. And that's what we did. So at this time, it was Google because they were really big. And in Berlin, and we teamed up with a team at Google and came up with some kind of AI design. But it was always about collaboration. So go out, talk to the people who are really good in what they are doing. So for production, with your production partners, and sort out and tell them, hey, 200 pieces. What they told us, for example, was, okay, we can do 200 pieces for you, but you need to commit 20,000 pieces overall per season with us. And we were happy to find a certain agreement that we at one hand side gain flexibility and they get some kind of share of the revenue that we make with our customers. And that worked out very nicely.
Yeah, and last but not least, don't be afraid. 500, the S&P 500 companies out of the year 2000, 50% of them don't exist anymore.
Absolutely. Kodak, you name it, they're not there.
Be curious. Be innovative. Try to understand new technologies, try to understand new processes, and find a new way to improve what you have and do the right things better. That's exactly the story behind all the good innovations. Don't be afraid. Try to find a new solution.
And I quite agree with David about collaboration, really important, not just inside your company. Find a supplier here who's going to suit your type of manufacturing, then find a retailer, so you make a chain together. By being united that way, you have continuity, you can share the problems and share the growth.
I would like to involve the audience because the time is running. And you have the experts on the panel. Yeah. Do you have questions? What do you want to know from them? Are there any questions? Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So I find it always a bit difficult to, I don't know, I love vintage, but I always find it a bit difficult to see what is more sustainable. Vintage or really like newly produced sustainable clothing. Because vintage has already been there, it already exists. Sorry, vintage already exists, and I want to ask what is more sustainable clothing or vintage?
So what is more sustainable,
Like
vintage or new
clothing?
Mhm. What is more sustainable, vintage clothing or new sustainable clothing?
Michael, I guess this is your direction.
Right now, it's more what is less bad. Is it better to be shot or be hung? Yeah, so it's both not designed for 10 billion people. Yeah, it only keeps us busy. It's like, give you another example. If you had an IKEA catalog 30 years ago, it had 90 dangerous chemicals in which don't allow composting or incineration when you want to use the ash in agriculture and breathe the air. Today, the catalog printed in Europe has 50 dangerous chemicals in there, which means because they took out some lead and cadmium and some others. But where's the difference whether you get shot 50 times or 90 times? Yeah, you basically invested a lot of money without a real benefit. There's no benefit really, it's only a little less bad. And even when you do so, you are maybe avoiding, you are missing the opportunity to come up with a true thing, yeah, which really matters. So both doesn't really help us. It helps us to learn things from it. It helps in learning, but we need to define what is actually the right thing for 10 billion people. And,
wait,
and then
David, one second. I don't want to...
Vintage, no discussion. Vintage is the growth, vintage is where it's going. 64% of women like vintage. My generation never liked it. You're not starting from scratch, you're using the thing. No discussion. 8% of
Johannes, can we ask another question, or is there a next panel coming up? Johannes, is there a next panel at half, or can we ask another question? We can go on with questions, if there are some.
Good.
I have one question regarding fast fashion. No. Okay. I have one question regarding fast fashion. It's something you mentioned, Dr. Braungart, in combination with the circularity idea or cradle to cradle idea. I see that regarding the materials, it works, but what about the people behind fast fashion? Because fast fashion is also works. I think this system also works because people involved in fast fashion, the workers, they have very low wages. Don't you think so? That's why these fast fashion companies can keep the very low prices for their clothes. It's not only the materials, but also a question of wages. Don't you think so?
I don't think so, no. First of all, I'm a little biased because I have two older brothers and I had to wear the clothes from my older brothers, and everybody was making fun of me because it was not fashionable anymore, you know, to wear the stuff. And so that's why I'm a little biased in favor of fast fashion, yeah, because then you can really change and express yourself in time. But secondly, the pyjama I handed you around, you can sell for less than 10 pounds and you still make a profit with it. And the people in Bangladesh who make it can have 3 times of the minimum wage, so they can really make a living. And the company which makes these pyjamas, it's DBL in Bangladesh, yeah, and you see it's a paradise when you go there compared to the apocalypse around the place. Then the people get 319 products of the daily need, from rice to washing detergents, at amazingly low prices because the company buys them for them. So for all the basic needs of up to toothbrushes, whatever, they get it at the real cheapest price. So I never saw people leaving at this company more happy people and more relaxed people than I saw from this company. And I can show you videos about it. So and they can make a living and they enjoy it, and they can work with their flip-flops because the chemicals are designed for the purpose to do so. So in this case, it's more about what is actually the right material, which then can be used across industries, because to use it just for pyjama doesn't make sense. But you can use it for insulation materials for ready-made houses instead of using rock wool or stuff like that, which is really not healthy. Then you have a cascade of using the material, but it needs to be designed for that purpose from the beginning. This is why really 100% of the material is designed for the biosphere. It makes healthy microplastics.
Michael, I got signs from the back that we need to stop, but I want...
In this case, I can only show by example what it means. In general, I think you're right. Yeah, right now it's exploiting people, destroying the environment, meaning a lot of waste with it, but it could be different. Yeah.
Just before we stop, one...
Just very short.
Very short.
Very short about the wages question. So fast fashion companies buy very fast, but also a very large amount of the same pieces because they are so big. So they can afford actually to have the same wages as some of the other companies. Not that they always do, but fast fashion companies are not worse than, I don't know, the Tommy Hilfiger or others.
They are.
David, thank you for being here. Michael, thank you for being with us today. Hans, David, is fast or slow fashion bad for us?
Fast fashion is the curse of our business. The sooner it's stopped, the better. It encourages consumption without responsibility. Last summer, there was a British company who put bikinis up on the internet for £1 a bikini. Can you say no to a £1 bikini? Because 2 million girls couldn't say no to a £1 bikini. I don't know how they got a £1 bikini. So let's talk about fast fashion. Let's talk about responsible design. I'm against fast fashion.
This is feudalism. Look, we don't need trade unions.
Michael, thank you. I think we don't need trade unions.
I care for you. This is feudalism. Responsible fashion. How silly.
No. I could pay my workers $10.
You two discuss out there. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.